Christian Yelich, and I'm going undercover on the internet. It's actually me. Twitter. Jeff Guerin asks, I'd love to know, when you're at bat, do you have time to recognize where the pitch is going and swing, or do you just have to take your best guess when the ball leaves the pitcher's hand? You know, you can tell what's going to happen. Things just happen really quickly. You know, you can see spin on the ball or how the seams move, and that gives you info into what kind of pitch it is and how it's going to break and if you should swing or not. I think they say a 90 or a 95-mile fastball gets to the plate in 0.4 of a second. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made in a really quick time period. And so when you see guys take bad swings or swing and miss at a ball, that's kind of what happens. Replied, COVID Clive Owen asks, where does Christian Yelich's power come from? Looks like he weighs 170 pounds. Well, Clive Owen, I think power comes from just being able to use your body in an efficient manner and learning how to get everything out of your strength, body, mechanics, and hopefully translate to being able to drive the ball and hit for power. Next, Matthew Minsky asks, at Christian Yelich, who was your favorite baseball player back when you were a kid? My favorite baseball player was actually Derek Jeter growing up. He was always the guy that seemed to get the big hit in the big moment. So he's the guy that I looked up to and got to play against him in a spring training game when I was a rookie, and it was one of the cooler moments of my career. Cora, seriously, it's actually me. What is the most consistent, hardest to hit baseball pitch, and why is it so hard? That's dependent on the pitcher and who's throwing it. There's only so many baseball pitches, but somebody's curveball can be different than somebody else's. And one guy's is easier to hit than others, and same goes for fastballs, changeups, any kind of pitch, really. Next, how did Christian Yelich turn himself into an MVP? I don't think there is any one way. It's one of those things where you kind of learn yourself as a player over time and constantly trying to better yourself as a player and make adjustments and just keep improving. Posted, if Christian Yelich never got traded, would he have ever broken out to become the player he is now? I truly believe yes. I really do, because I think the changes were organic. I don't see why they wouldn't have happened in Miami. It was just one of those times in evolutions as a player. So I truly believe that if I was still in Miami, still in the Marlins, that I would still be the same player. Let's look at Instagram. So we got a question here from number 1 shortstop prospect. How often did you practice when you were 12? I want to practice just as much as you did. I think I practiced a lot. I mean, I think as a kid, you need to have some good balance. You need to practice, and if you love your sport, that's awesome and that's great. And it takes that level of passion to reach the major leagues, and you have to be dedicated to it. But I think you got to also enjoy being a kid. You got to live a normal life. You got friends, you got school. Just broaden your horizons. Make sure that's something that you really love. And if it is something you love, then dedicate as much time as you want to it. You know, there's no right answer to this. I think do it as much as you want, and I wish you the best of luck in your career. Let's see what's on Wikipedia. Yelich grew up both a Los Angeles Dodger fan and New York Yankees fan. Pretty true. I mean, most of my first baseball experiences were at Dodger Stadium. That's where I saw my first major league games. I remember sitting up in the blue seats in the third deck. I think it was my first time. I want to say they were either playing the Reds or the Phillies at the time. For me now as a player, it's always special to go back to that stadium where you grew up learning baseball. And the Yankees one kind of ties back into the earlier question of who my favorite player was. So it was Derek Jeter, so I kind of always followed the Yankees growing up too. Submit. Yelich appeared in an episode of Magnum PI that aired on March 4th, 2019. That is true. I got to play myself. It's kind of cool. Got to go out to Hawaii to film it and see how film and TV shows work and everything that goes into that. I wasn't awful at it, I don't think, because I got to play myself, so it was a lot easier, and I was interacting with Little League kids from the island that ended up making it to the Little League World Series, and I really enjoyed it. Posted. More Twitter. Shane Dickinson wants to know if I would ever have any interest in being a manager/coach after my career is over. At this point, I'm far enough away from my career being over to where I really haven't put much thought into it. It's a lot harder job than people think it is to be the manager. As players, we have long days, but coaching staff, they really have long days. And I say at this time, I don't think so. It's a long way off, and things can change. Replied, Mike Unleashed. He wants to know, why do we have managers? Why not just have computers? We can have the automated manager. Well, Mike, it's not as simple as that. Being a manager is a lot harder than it looks. I think people think they just write the lineup card and then they're sitting back and chilling. But there's a lot that goes on. You're managing people, you're managing a ball club, and computers are great. They give you info, they give you data, but there's still a human element to it. Managers know how guys are feeling. If a guy is battling an injury, if he's hurt, there's a people aspect to it. Replied, Robert Murray. I know Robert. He said that Andy Haynes, who's our current Major League hitting coach of the Brewers, once told me that Christian Yelich and JT Realmuto went to Chipotle 142 days in a row when they're in the minor leagues together. I don't know if we actually went 142 days in a row. That would literally be every day of the minor league season we went to Chipotle. I mean, we might have been approaching triple digits, maybe a little less, so we definitely put some of our time in our minor league stops. YouTube. You may not believe it, but it's actually me. Delirious Dinosaur, what a name. Wants to know, do all baseball players have homes in Scottsdale? I wouldn't say all baseball players have homes in Scottsdale, but spring training's in Arizona. A lot of people enjoy being out here. So I, myself, live out here part of the time. Moving on, Donkey J Kong, 1213. Christian Yelich, how good are you at catching a football? Depends on the day and who's throwing it. Some people can spin it pretty good and it's a little bit hard to catch, or if you're wearing gloves or not. It's a thing that's kind of hit or miss for me. I try to pride myself on thinking I'm pretty good, but we'll see. Next, Jake Lund. He wants to know, does Bernie Brewer still go down the slide? Yeah, Bernie Brewer still goes down the slide. He goes down on home runs, and I believe when we take the field every home game as a team. Replied, first out at third asks, who wins a race between Lorenzo Cain and Christian Yelich? It looks like they kind of gave us some sort of info or maybe statistical breakdown. It has myself ahead of Lowe by just a fraction, it said, which I would say that's pretty accurate. As he would say in his good years back in Kansas City when he was a burner and could run a little bit, he might have got me, but I truly think that now that I would take him in a race. Replied, Mortora, which Major League Baseball records are unlikely to be broken? I think Cal Ripken's game played streak, I don't think anyone's ever going to come close to that ever again. No one will touch it. Just how teams rest guys and look out for your health. They're not going to let you roll out 20 plus seasons in a row playing every game. So I think that one's going to be really hard to touch. Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak's going to be really hard just because of the specialty matchups and all the analytics and finding where guys hit the ball, and you don't face the same pitcher many times anymore. So I see those two being very, very hard to hit. The home run record is going to be another tough one. Pretty daunting task, and the thing about that though is you never know. I think the phrase is records are meant to be broken, so who knows, that somewhere down the line maybe somebody can get close to them. Posted. The last one we got is Christian Yelich, a future baseball Hall of Famer. I think we're a long way off from that. I think time will tell. There's a long way to go in my career still, and it would be pretty special if something like that happened, but check back in about 10 years. Okay guys, that's enough internet for me for one day. I'm out of here, officially signing off.